Hi everyone, welcome to this new episode of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. This is a weekly recap for March 26th to April 1st. Had some interesting new things to talk about. Kind of going up on last stuff about the business of law and things to do in our practices to make things smoother and a little faster. Some updates as to the laws itself. Some interesting cases I had this week. I had some interesting ideas of how to go about things and a little bit of issues that happen here and there. Look forward to going through it with you. Going to keep it a little shorter than usual because I don't like them being that long. I know people don't want to listen to an hour-long podcast. I know I don't feel like speaking that long because it's already late Sunday night and my throat is already losing it after a very long day. But I'm looking forward to doing it. I have a blast doing this, and I love your responses. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. I am the host, Attorney John Khosravi, and I practice U.S. immigration law exclusively. For more information about the program, please visit www.immigrationlawyerspodcast.com. Please note that this recording is informational only and does not constitute legal advice. Please consult with a licensed attorney for specific legal guidance that suits your case. Also, this recording is copyrighted and written permission is required for rebroadcasting. For more information about me, please visit www.jqqlaw.com. So, last week I ended on a note about the business of an immigration practice. Things have been changing really rapidly. A lot of it having to do with technology, but not only technology itself, there's just other factors that are happening that are affecting just the practice of law in general. There was an article that came out on a website called myshingle.com, and the title was The Endangered Legal Profession. And in it they talk about how many firms are going bankrupt, out of business, downsizing, a lot in personal injury and employment law. But, it's inevitable that this is going to happen in the immigration practice as well. In one end, removal defense under Trump seems like it's in a boom period. I've actually been offered a couple of firms that do full service except immigration for me to come aboard because they want to start a removal practice. And I don't do removal, so I couldn't tell them I could help them with that. And frankly, I like being solo. That's the way to go for me. But, they see the dollar signs in the air, and at least for the next 4 years, it seems like the way to go. But as I talked about last time, a family practice will be getting more difficult because of technology and the fact that websites can help with naturalization, family-based, to the extent that's possible through these the most basic kind of cases where people are somewhat competent to do it themselves with the help of these websites. That's going to take away and affect our businesses, as well as other factors I'm not even aware of. So it got me to thinking and wanting to talk about what my business plan is and how I set it up intentionally when I started my practice. When I started thinking about business, and I took cue from the things I've seen in my family, friends, everyone else had a business, and not just the legal business, because as a lawyer, I didn't have any person in my family or near extended branches of friends and family that was a lawyer. So I had no one to talk to. It was just a decision I made myself. But I had seen three different types of businesses and the successes and failures of business models. And this is based on volume. So there's those businesses that have high volume and low cost, like a McDonald's. And that could be, some removal defense cases firms and just take on a lot of different people, hoping to make it out in numbers, the fact that the amounts are low. And so obviously, you get more people, but the quality takes a hit. And it's a big stress. So those kind of firms have to have a lot of people involved, a lot of employees, paralegals. And, managing people is a very difficult thing. So I'm not sure if that's the most expedient and efficient and smartest way to run a practice, especially with the kind of lifestyle I wanted to have. Now, on the second tier of that is people who are middle of the road. So they charge a little more, but not that expensive. The quality is good, but not like the best. And then above that is, really expensive. Potentially it could be high volume too, but a lot high quality, but very expensive. So, if you look at cars, like that could be the Lamborghini or the Ferrari, where they only make a few of those, but they're very expensive, but the attention to detail is very great. One thing I saw about people running their own businesses is that when you go to the middle of the road part, which seems like a sweet spot, the middle of the road, although it seems to be the way to go and, be able to get a larger number of people, maybe that's the middle of the bell curve, but they get stressed the most in times of pressure. They're the people look at them. They're like, well, there's a cheaper option. They'll save money, or the people who are down to pay more money will go to them. And you see this right now in retail too. For example, the big chain, the big money makers. If you're Bloomingdale's or Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, they're making money. TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Ross, they're making money. But Macy's is going out of business. JCPenney was just, trying to be somewhere in the middle. They're all going out of business. So that middle part, although it seems like a sweet spot, it's the opposite. And so when I started my firm, I made the decision to go low volume, but high service. So I can only take few clients a month. Now, I thought this might, and I thought I was charging a lot and being very expensive, but now when I'm asking around what other people charge, I'm not necessarily that expensive. But by keeping my overhead low, I'm able to run a very efficient firm, and, income-wise, everything works out, and I have the time to do all these videos and podcasts and everything like that, and I'm doing what I need to do, and I'm living the lifestyle like I want to have, and it's growing. So that's something that's really important to think about when you are doing a practice. If you could get things done efficiently, and it should be honestly able to be done in every type of immigration practice, even if you're doing removal defense, to be able to take on less clients, charge a reasonable amount, but give excellent service. And it really goes back to the person, what kind of service they want to give and they expect from themselves. Do they expect excellence, or are they just trying to do the minimum just to get by and then hustle the next one? I've seen so many firms that just have a business of, they have a friend in some church, as a Hispanic church, and they bring all the church people in there on a bus and unload, and they just sign them all up and then, get the money and then do lousy jobs and forget about stuff. And that's not a way to go just as a person. It's like selling bad goods in the middle of a restaurant or a store. It does a disservice to the customers, the people, and really yourself to go on that lower level. So, obviously, the efficiency is and having low overhead is one of the keys to be able to operate for myself. So one thing this week I started to look at, or last week, was how can I make things a little more efficient? So when I have new clients, I have my own forms, questionnaires that I send out to them, and I have them complete and give back to me. And they do a so-so job in completing those, and it's not too bad, but sometimes they leave huge parts of it blank, like it's just not there. Like I ask about their address history, leave it blank. And this is after we've already even signed up. And I need to have that address and employment history for the G3258s and stuff like that. But I'm like, well, maybe instead of, and how I would do it is I just take those forms and manually put it in all the questionnaires and manually put in all the forms. I know it's time consuming, but I do appreciate doing that myself, because by the time I'm done with a client's case, I know all their birthdays, their anniversaries, after doing it many, many times, their full names, their parents' names. And it makes me really close to my clients. And that, again, helps the excellence of the practice, because I really care about my clients, and I know them personally. I have their birthdays. I save them in my calendar so I can wish them happy birthdays, happy anniversaries. And when I see them after that, I really just feel a connection that I know these people really well. And that helps me give that level of service I want to do. But at the same time, that adds time to it. And so I thought, if there's one of these systems that these online companies that lawyers or immigration lawyers are using, where the client just goes and fills in the form themselves and it populates the forms themselves, although I can't do that process, it might save me an hour to 2 hours. So that'll allow me to, in one sense, decrease my legal fees to help the client, and other end, still make more of a profit if I take 2 hours off the table like that. So I contacted various firms, and I'm in the process of testing them out. The first one I tested was Serenade, which pretty much looks like the number one. Looking at AILA survey in 2016, they said that's the number one used. Everyone's talking how great it is. Now, I don't need case management, so I don't even go into that. I have very, on a monthly basis, the numbers of clients I take aren't that much. So I'll always know who my clients are and what's going on in their case. There's no problem for me to not be able to manage and know where things are, since I do it myself. But the form system that they had, a lot of people on the new member division listserv, AILA's listserv, were saying that they love it, it's good. But a couple people had a point. I didn't find it comfortable, because I didn't find it good, because I tried to fill out the forms. It was confusing. Which buttons to press where was confusing. There were different numbers of them. I don't know where to save them. I don't know how to go to the next page. It was just the first impression I got. It was difficult for me. So I'm like, if my clients, and some of them are just, they can't answer like questionnaires with bubbles on an A or B on my forms, they're not going to be able to get that. So that was really heartbreaking because I was hoping to use it because Serenade has such a good price. Customer service is great. They have these tutorial videos. They really care. So I would say if you're listening to this, definitely try it out because I'm not familiar with case management with a need for that. So that could be a big thing. Some people said what they do is they have clients fill out their own questionnaires. Then they have their paralegal input into Serenade. So Serenade will put into the various forms for them. Since I don't have a paralegal, that became redundant to me to like have to do it all over again. So it made no sense. So I'm going to try a couple other ones, or all of them really, one by one every week. And see which one's best. Maybe Serenade is the best, and I just need to work at it more or adjust the way the questionnaire is, a format that may be permissible. But that first impression, it put me off for the form purposes. So I'm holding off on pursuing that one until I test out the other ones. Hopefully there's a system that can save me those couple hours, and it'd be really helpful for both my clients and myself. Moving on though, this has been a crazy week. Every week it's just getting crazier and crazier. Like the quality of my clientele are just going like so good. I'm really excited. Just the type of people contacting me with the interesting kind of cases. One case that was really interesting that came in was a person that's actually a YouTube star. Millions and millions of followers on YouTube, big social media presence, getting all these people endorsement deals and getting people paying them to talk about the products. So really huge. Now we want to do an O1 for them. Well, initially they wanted an O1, but what would the O1 job title be? Would they because they want to come here to act, endorse products, and do several other things. So the O1 has to be a broad one, the job title. And so that was a little difficult, kind of weird. But then when I reviewed this stuff, the person had won awards too for their work, a top person in social media and YouTube, all this kind of stuff. I said, just make it easy. Let's go the EB-1 route, which is what I prefer. I'm really not into O1s. I try to avoid it. If I can get an EB-1, I'll try my best to get that. Because it's not limited, you don't have to renew it. It's just so much better. You don't have to get the consultation letter or whatever that is. So looking into the EB-1, and the thing comes again, what is the job title for that? And I asked a lot of my colleagues to get an idea of what they've done, and it's kind of a new field, the whole idea of YouTube and social media. And so when I was thinking about it, I could say they're a YouTube star, which has value. When you have this person that has 10 million people right now subscribed on YouTube, that's huge. I do podcasts and I do videos and I follow YouTube, and that's humongous. That's crazy if you not familiar with social media and how much power that is. Essentially, 10 million people is more than CNN gets a lot of times. So on average, millions of people watch the videos. You might have 10 million subscribers, doesn't mean they're all going to watch. But the ratings on television are so low, these YouTube stars get more daily viewers than a lot of shows. So they're very powerful position. But just if I say they're a social media star, a YouTube star, in potential one idea is saying they're a marketing expert, online marketing expert, because they can market products, they learn how to get to the audience and sell it. But the medium is so new. If the USCIS adjudicator, some person that's maybe 56 years old, doesn't go on YouTube, doesn't know social media, are they going to appreciate the fact that a person has 10 million YouTube subscribers? To me, that's like having a gold medal in the Olympics. It's so difficult to do. Now, people have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million, but 10 million on a consistent basis, getting on average 4 million views, that's huge, And these people are making money. And while I was talking to them, that person wanted to come and act in the United States. I said, listen, Hollywood is going away. Those days are over. Between pirating and just a lack of interest and a lot of the nonsense Hollywood comes to saying stories over and over again, people who are on YouTube and social media and have a big following, that is the future of media and mass media and broadcasting. So to want to come be in movies is a big deal. So everyone wants to do that, and I appreciate that. It's probably they should do that for their name. But when you look at the charts of social media going up, Hollywood is going down. They're going to cross over one day where social media is going to overcome Hollywood as the medium of broadcasting and entertainment and attention. And I think that day is coming pretty soon, if it hasn't even passed already. There's so many flops that are happening in these studios that it's a big deal. So the issue comes is USA is going to accept this. So I spent a lot of time researching this, and I'm still trying to think, what's the best way to explain this? Now I have to get statistics of what it means to be in these positions, what it means to be with YouTube, news reports, articles written in reputable papers explaining this, so I could if I get the officer that doesn't just instinctively get it, they could appreciate it. Now, I had one EB-1 once, and this was a model. And the model was like the face of the company in one country for a year, the thing they had. So one of the EB-1 categories says, just paraphrasing, you're an important person for an important company. So I named the company. The company is like a multi-billion-dollar company that everyone knows. It's involved in hair care and personal care products. And so I didn't think that I need to corroborate that this business is big, so I just sent to USCIS, and we got RFE saying, we don't know whose business is, prove that they're like a big business or important business. So, you have to get their stocks up. This is a multi-billion-dollar company. Like, how many, you can't get any bigger than this. It's one of the biggest out there. And so it got approved. But then it just shows, like, you can't assume they're going to understand everything or know everything or care about it enough. They put the onus on you to prove it. So, that took a lot of time studying what's the best way to show that this person is in that position and how to do that. And so if you have YouTube cases, if you've had them, O1s or EB1s, please email me. I'd be interested to see what kind of terminology you use for the job title and what scope of work that would allow for an O1 or for EB1, how that worked and how you backed it up. Because I think these cases are becoming more and more, if you're in the EB1 field, this type of case is going to come more and more because they're the actors of the future, Hollywood actors of the future. And every country has them, and there's just so much growth in this area for O1s, for EB1s, that is something to watch out for. And for example, if you did an O1, did you get one of those letters from the union? Who's the appropriate person to do that in this case? That's something interesting to know, and I'd love to talk to you about it. So please email info@jqqlaw.com. That's a really interesting subject I want to get to know about. But case-wise, so what's happening with my cases? Well, I had a couple annoying things. One annoying thing happened, but it's a group of annoying things with it. So in early March, I submitted 4 naturalization cases, 2 on the 9th and then 2 on like the 14th or something. So one of each of those 2 groupings, I got the receipt and biometrics, but never got any information or biometrics or receipt on the other 2. So clients got them. They would email me copies of the receipts and biometrics. I'm like, what's going on? How come I'm not getting this? So I called up USCIS, and like, well, the receipts for the M400 are courtesy, so we don't necessarily send them to the clients. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? It's a courtesy. I'm the attorney. I have to get this. I'm attorney of record. So officer's like, well, I don't know. We're going to patch you through to the higher ups that escalate it. But unfortunately, they're so busy, they're not going to be escalating things anymore today. This was like 11 a.m. in LA time, Los Angeles time. So I'm like, okay, I'll call back tomorrow. Call back at 9 a.m. next day. They escalate it up. I get a call back 6 hours later. And I'm like, okay, so this is the situation. What's going on? The officer's like, okay, let me look into it. I'm on hold, and hang up, click. What happened? And so there's no calling back. I can't wait anymore. So I just have to get the clients to sign new G28s, mail it to them. And obviously the clients are going to think I messed up, so it makes me look bad. Because I know if I call in, they're just going to say tough luck, And I want to, luckily they're cases that don't have big issues. They're pretty straightforward. I don't even probably need to go to the interview with them unless they want me to. But I'm a attorney of record. They paid money for this for me to be on top of their case. And if any glitch happens, the sooner I'm on board with the G28, the better. But, I'm going to mail the G28. They have like 30 days to confirm that they got it. Who knows if they're going to input it right. It's such a mess when stupid things like that happen. And I scan all my files. I know 100% it was there. It was in the scanned copy I sent. And the same day, in separate, mailers, I send multiple cases, and the other ones got that correct proper G28. So that was a little frustrating. But on the very beautiful side, I had an I-140 approved for an EB-1C multinational executive or executive of a multinational company. And it was wonderful. Got it done in 2.5 months. Very good packet. Company in the U.S. only had 5 or 6 employees. But most of them were engineers and high skill employees with like bachelor's or master's degree in engineering. So that was really helpful. And the client's so beautiful. Like, he sent me an email. He was emotional. I was teared up. He said, the few people in my life that ever helped me, you're one of them. And I really appreciate everything you've done for me. And I was like, oh, really, the human angle of the work is just wonderful. This person got the L1. We got him the new office L1 about 2 years ago now, a year and maybe 10 months. And within that time, I-140 is approved. We're going to submit the I-485 for the green card now for him and his family. But it was just like so great. I was so happy to get that. I wasn't too worried just because the company is so legit. There's always a number of employees is an issue, but they had very educated employees, making good money, dominating their field really quickly, and they're just growing. So that's wonderful. Now that he got his green card, or he's going to get his green card, we want to bring probably another manager over here, L1, or maybe an L1B as well. So we wanted to hold off to get this one done before making any moves. So that's going to be wonderful, and been working with the company for another couple of years now. But it was great getting that. Now, weird thing is, I got the I-140 approval in the mail, but the website still hasn't been updated, which is very annoying. But I assume, like the paper, that's what counts. But the fact they don't update the website, or sometimes when you send that form in, G1145 or something like that, the one that they're supposed to text message you or email you when they receive the case, and they don't send that, or it takes them like 4 weeks to send it after you get the receipt, it's so frustrating. It's like, why is that even there if you're not going to use it? Because it just makes people worried. And it's just things that will frustrate you when you're dealing with USCIS. But God bless them. They approved the case, so I love you, the Educators. That was a wonderful case. It only happened 2.5 months. I was expecting 4, 5, 6 months. So I'm going to start clearing up one topic. I'll say that one for last. One really cool thing happened, and I want to give kudos to the attorneys. Let me pull up the case. The case of Ramirez v. Brown in the Ninth Circuit was approved to the benefit of clients and immigration attorneys. The counsels for the appellant were Christopher Strawn, argued, and Matthew Adams, Northwest Immigration Rights Project, Seattle, Washington, for plaintiffs. Excellent work. So, for those not familiar with TPS, temporary protective status, it gives certain protections for a person that's here, whether lawfully entered or unlawfully entered. If their home country is going through a hot mess, the U.S. gives special permission for them to stay here and get a work permit for the family. It's kind of like asylum. If they don't have the ability to go to third parties and stay or whatever, they get to stay here. Now, many countries have that. In this case, a gentleman came here illegally and then married a U.S. citizen, but got TPS. Came to adjust status, and USCIS is denying these. And it's really stupid, because let me read you the statute. And this is really, I don't know how people read this any differently. I mean, it's just straightforward. It's like saying water and saying, oh, that's not water. Like, how do you see this? Now, Ninth Circuit did a great job, and I bashed him before, but the Ninth Circuit judges got a good immigration case, and they corrected it because they cite other circuit courts and courts that have reached the same conclusions, but they didn't reach the conclusions over what I would think the right reason is, which is basically what the statute said. They've read into it and tried to make an exception for this, but they're like, no, they're wrong. It's just straightforward. The language is this. So this is a language. When you go to 8 USC Code 1254 AF4. I'll start with the F part. It goes, benefits and status during period of temporary protected status. During a period in which an alien is granted temporary protected status under this section, then I go to number 4, for purposes of adjustment of status, getting a green card, under section 1255 of this title, and change of status under section 1258 of this title, the alien shall be considered as being in and maintaining lawful status as a non-immigrant. So they're giving non-immigrant status. That means it's wonderful. Okay, you just automatically get that. Reading it now, maybe there's a 20% or 50% way of reading it differently if you enter unlawfully or something like that. But you got to go based on the face of the statute. You can't go undo it. So the court says, basically, it says that. So here the case. The TPS applicant marries U.S. citizen, tries to adjust. Field office says no. The court says no. Eventually, it goes to the Ninth Circuit, and they say yes. It doesn't matter if the person was legal. TPS is a special thing. It's like an admission, and the person initiate an inspection, and the person could adjust status. And what's interesting, though, is the 11th Circuit. No, not the 11th Circuit, take contrary position to Senate. Yeah, the 11th Circuit says, the 11th Circuit has taken a contrary position holding that a status unambiguously points the other way. So I didn't have time to read the 11th Circuit's ideas in the case of Serrano v. U.S. Attorney General 655 F.3D 1260. This is a 2011 case. And they try to distinguish stuff, and I'll definitely read that if you're going to be adjusting status based on TPS, and I have to read that. I have a TPS case, but they're not going to need it because they came in lawfully and they're going to be able to do their stuff, but I rarely deal with TPS. But it's just really important because when I was looking at their case, they came in on a non-immigrant visa, but they were thinking about falling out of it, and I was like, well, okay, who cares if all you have TPS? We'll find another way to adjust. And if you can't continue the work investment-based program they had, then forget about it. Who cares? But then when I start reading the cases and talking to people who are like, no, USCIS doesn't care. The statute says this. They're not going to. So this case said adjustment of status is okay. And again, they married a U.S. citizen, so who knows? Like if it was other forms of adjustment, employment-based, because they don't go to that necessarily, and which kind of sucks. I wish it would just say directly that that's the case. But the statute here says that a change of status is allowed. So let's say are they going to buy that if a person is here with TPS status, they're unlawfully entered or they go out of status but then get TPS, can they still change the status to an F1 or maybe do an invest and maybe do an E2 later? It turns out I talked at the time when I was thinking about it, everyone, they said no, USCIS doesn't accept that. This case just talks about adjustment, and it's in the context of marriage to a U.S. citizen, which is really exceptional form of adjustment. But to me, maintaining lawful status as a non-immigrant is what you get when you get TPS. That means you should be able to change status if you want. It means you should be able to adjust status. And this is something hopefully there'll be more lawsuits about. And one of my long-term goals in having this practice, and the reason I do these kind of talking things is because I want to, just frank, make enough money where I don't have to take cases, where I can just constantly sue. All I want to do is be in federal court and sue constantly on these stupid things, what I think are stupid, that they're not putting in. I'm a semi law and order guy, and I said in previous ones, if the law says something, that's what the decisions of the legislator were. Even sometimes if you don't like it, that's the rule of law. We got to go by this. To me, it's very clear that this is the rule of law. That if you have TPS, no matter what you did beforehand, they go and did your background, they gave you TPS, you should be able to change status and adjust status. Unless Congress has a decision, the legislator changes it, and the executive signs into power that things are changed, and that's not the case, then they got to go by this. Unless they change 8 USC 1254A F4, they can't backtrack on it. But now, field officers still don't have to do that in these other circuits. And so this potentially could be something that could be pushed up. Because, TPS, there's a lot of it, like Yemen's at TPS status. So is that something the Trump administration want to push on these kind of cases? I mean, they put them on that stupid 7-country list or 6-country now list. It wouldn't be a stretch that they would hassle this. I mean, tomorrow I think there's supposed to be a decision on H4 cases, whether spouses of H4s could get work permits. And so they're pushing stuff like that. I was in a forum once, jumping onto H4s, where people were bashing, these H4s are now taking our job. It's such a minuscule part of the population that's H4. And also, it's really damaging for families because, a lot of times people have H1Bs, they're educated and they have a spouse that's educated as well. They come to the U.S., the spouse can't do anything, got to stay home all day. And why would you want to have someone in the U.S. just sitting there when they're very productive and they could add something? We've got to think about production value that people bring to things, not that they're taking away from someone else's job. The mindset of lacking rather than abundance is insane. If someone's got what it takes to come and work here and provide for the society here, then more so be it. Because so many people don't have that. So if someone could get a work permit to work, then why not? We're angry that other people are coming here and not working and taking things. If so, they want to provide it and stuff, let's do it. It's an understanding of economics that's really off. Now, if people are getting benefits constantly from the government and for taxpayers, which is really from people, not the government they're taking, that may be an argument. But if they're here on H4, they're going to have a work permit. They're going to usually have a degree anyways, and they're going to work and give stuff to society and pay taxes. Why would you not want to do that? It's just, they're so small-minded. Now, ending with a positive thing about networking. So, I love networking and going to groups and stuff like that and talking and just meeting people in the immigration field. I go to other stuff, but the reason I did this podcast is because I love talking about immigration. And so when I go to immigration meetings, I love talking to immigration attorneys about it. It's a great time. But I had to branch out, other than going to A-list stuff obsessively, and joining these other groups. And I won't name any particular ones because I don't want to put out endorsements. But I've joined one group where it's a lot of lawyers, but different people, that we go sit in a room once a month and just talk about one person. Each wants to introduce themselves. You all probably been to that. And they talk about their business a little bit, talking about referrals people gave and how helpful it was, maybe a little about their practice and what they do. At the end of it, 2 or 3, we're set into groups of 2 or 3 and have lunch. And I did a group like this, and when I first went in, it was a gentleman who's, I'm not sure what the job title is exactly, but he's a psychologist, sells as a shrink. They don't use that terminology anymore. And he's like an expert with executives to help them better their careers and to fix companies that have bad culture. Very friendly and smart guy. And so we headed off, started talking, and he's like, you know what, I asked him, could I come and learn from you? Could you mentor me a little bit? I'm trying to be just a better person in all aspects, professionally and personally. So I went in his office, and a week later, we talked for a couple hours, and he helped me out so much in the conversation, and just to get me to know myself better and take advantage of opportunities I have, and just pay attention to little things that could take me to the next level. And so, you know, the I don't know, $2,000 or so it costs to be a member of this group, and then the lunches and everything. It's totally worth it in that one session, because it gave me so many ideas how to grow. And so I'm essentially, that it's an investment that I put on there that I'm going to exponentially make better because of that. And I've already made better. Just the last 10 days I met him, I changed the way I run my office, in that I keep track of what I'm doing. I've broken down what inefficiencies they were. I was putting a lot of attention on stuff that didn't have any near, medium, or gains. They were really long term, but I was stressing out about something that's very long term gains when I was not putting priority on stuff that are short term, and I need to. And it sounds very basic, but having it highlighted and thought about and looked at directly, it's really important. So he helped me do that and really focus. I want to meet with him again. Another thing we talked about is developing mastermind groups, which I've never done before, but I'm searching for peers. And, you know, I'm very active. I'm doing podcasts and meetings and mentoring and writing and all this kind of stuff. Having a group of two maximum, maybe 3 people where we meet, and just talk about this, have the same ideas, and are trying to grow and pretty much live close. We don't have to drive too much. It's something I'm really chasing. So if you do have a mastermind group, let me know if you set one up or a member of one, and what kind of stuff you do, especially if it's your colleagues are lawyers and immigration lawyers in there. About, you know, what you set up, what the goals are, what the parameters are, how often you meet, where you meet, what you've learned, what you would avoid. It's a great idea to do. If you're looking to grow and not stay stagnant, this idea of these mastermind groups are really good. And as I develop mine, I'll talk about it more to give ideas of how to set one up and what to go for. One thing, for example, he said and I did is have like a mission statement of what the goals are. And so, unfortunately, I don't have it pulled up. It might take a little bit for me to pull it up and read it up. But I wrote one, and sometimes these things sound pretty corny, but it's real. So, and there's a lot of meaning behind it. So I'll read it off as soon as I can pull it up. And I recommend you set one up and you do this kind of stuff as well. This is the last thing I'm going to be saying before I go. So please bear with me. Okay, where is it? That's not the email. Okay, the goal. To support each other's personal and professional growth, going deeper and further than the obvious superficial aspects to help overcome internal and external challenges together. Now, I'll probably update this and keep moving on it and really fine-tune what it is. But that really put it into the personal and professional growth, going deep, and overcoming the challenges. Because one thing I've just realized, if you live in a first world country like America, where the basics, food, shelter, all this are there for most people, the only thing holding you back, whatever damage you went through growing up, whatever bad parents, whatever society, at this point in 2017, the only thing holding you back is yourself. If you're living in America. Now, if you're living in some countries where they'll you look up, they'll smack you in the head. Pretty much that's other issues. But if you're living in a free society, what's holding back is the psychological burdens that are there. And they might be real, and they really are there, where you have people around you holding you back. But there are things that can be overcome by putting a right mindset and perspective on things. And that's helped me a lot. In the last 5 years, that's what led me to where I am. Or else I would have been stuck in a rut, just repeating the same behaviors, hanging out with the same people, and just not having the growth that's necessary. So that's something I want to talk about a lot. It's 11 o'clock now. I'm losing my voice, so I got to edit this video and this tape. So thank you so much for listening. I really enjoy doing this, and I really enjoy your feedback. It's just a wonderful experience. If you have questions, comments, anything, email me info@jqqlaw.com. The YouTube video of this will be posted on youtube.com/jqqlaw. We're also on iTunes, called the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. And let's see where else I would be. If you're interested in your immigration lawyer, the Immigration Lawyers Listserv is the place to be to exchange information, ask questions. I'm sure I have other stuff I could plug, but I don't remember what they are right now. So without further ado, bye-bye.